teenage. Don't you give me no dirty looks.
By the end of the 50s, teenagers were turning out in force to buy rock and roll. In response, the industry offered up a variety of styles. One was the cleaner, safer sound of teen idols, like Paul Anka.
So young and you're so old. This, my darling, I've been told. I don't care just what they say, 'cause forever I will pray.
Life could be a dream. Life could be a dream. Shoo-doop-doop-doop, shaboom.
Another style was practiced on the street, but rooted in the gospel harmonies of the black church, doo-wop.
I'm the only one that's in love. Life could be a dream. So you're hello, hello again. Shaboom, hello, me again.
The success of black vocal groups in the late 40s inspired a generation of future performers to use the street corner as their stage.
Doing doo-wop came about when I was in my teen years. I met a couple of school pals that was singing, and they found that I could sing a bit, and I joined the group, and we started singing on the corners.
Every time I look at you, something is on my mind. If you do what I want you to, baby, we'd be so fine.
As a replacement singer in the Drifters, Benny King moved from the street to the studio on the eve of one of the most influential recordings of the day, produced by the hottest young team in the business, Leiber and Stoller.
There goes my baby, moving on down the line. I was there, but when I got to Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller, they went to the kettle drums, dong, dong, da, 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 da. I said, oh my God, what do I do with this thing here?
Boom, boom. There she goes. There she goes.
They said, okay, it's a 4-bar intro. And I didn't know nothing about counting bars. And they showed me, so it says count 1, 2, 3, 4. So they taught me how to count bars, and this is a 4-bar intro, and then start singing. And all that's going in my mind, at the same time, I have all these strings getting ready to do bits and pieces, and the kettle drums going. So I was a bit off, but I knew once I started singing, it was their problem to fix. It wasn't mine. All I have to do is, he say, count 4 bars and start singing.
There goes my baby, moving on down the line. Wonder where she is bound.
They aspired to dare to put strings on and orchestral percussion. I mean, this was unheard of. If you didn't have drums and honking horns and a saxophone, doo-wah, 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 what kind of record were you making?
Well, it evolved during the rehearsals. I came up with this line, which sounds like Borodin or Rimsky-Korsakov, because it felt good. And Jerry said, that sounds like violins. And I said, well, why not?
Leiber and Stoller stuck to their guns, and they made this record, I don't know, with perhaps 20 strings, with the cellos doing it, da-da-dee-dee-dee-dee-da-da, which was a steal from Beethoven, and this and that. And they have all these classical flags and signatures and timpanis and hair drums. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, they went the whole hog.
It was new. It was something that Jerry Leiber and Mike Stoller had came up with a new concept for black music and black singers, and it took off, and it just never stopped.
You can dance every dance with the guy.
Leiber and Stoller had created the lush, velvety sound of sweet soul. With songs provided by New York's finest writers, they would produce hit after hit for the Drifters. But Benny King's career with the group was so brief that on television a fellow drifter had to lip-sync to King's vocals.
So darling, say the last dance for me.
Leiber and Stoller agreed to produce King as a solo artist, and they tempered his gospel style to fit their orchestral productions.
Coming out of the gospel, you do things like, nearer, my God, to thee, oh, nearer, my God, to thee. And then they would take me and say, do this song. There is a rose in Spanish Harlem, a red rose up in Spanish Harlem. It is the special one, it's never seen the sun. It only comes out when the moon is on the run and all the stars are gleaming. I said, you gotta be joking. But once I would do it, it all made sense. It just fit perfectly.
There is a rose in Spanish Harlem, a red rose up in Spanish Harlem. It is the special one, it's never seen the sun. It only comes out when the moon is.
Leiber and Stoller's work, from Elvis to the Coasters to Benny King, helped create an R&B-inspired foundation for rock and roll. They had crafted a form of black pop that would have a powerful influence on the music of the early 60s. Most of that music was created here, in New York, at the legendary Brill Building, home in the past to such songsmiths as Irving Berlin, Cole Porter, Rodgers and Hart, and now Leiber and Stoller. Their work inspired many young songwriters and producers just starting out in the business, like Jerry Goffin and Carole King.
Leiber and Stoller were absolutely role models for Jerry and me in the beginning. They were combining classical music with the string kind of arrangements and the timpani with rhythm and blues, which at that point was definitely not mainstream, and just a good lyric sense that was the part of the Broadway and pop tradition, and it was very inspiring.
From an office near the Brill Building, Goffin and King would be key players in a whole new trend, the invasion of male-dominated rock and roll by girls.